I do find creating a cohesive body of work to be very difficult because I like to take inspiration from many different things and jump from idea to idea. And then my studio always looks different and I'm always using different supplies. So it's kind of hard to create something that looks the same through multiple pieces of work. But like I said, it can be easier to do that throughout the years. You know, I kind of go back to certain things. So I'm like, wow, I have 5 pieces that look very similar from 5 different years, and a lot of pieces that look different from those same years. The way I approach art isn't like I'm going to do these pieces about this or they're going to relate in this way. I understand what I'm thinking about after I've already made the work. So I curate it and explain it after everything's already done. Like, I understand what I was thinking about afterwards, because it's a very different mindset that I'm in while I'm making art versus thinking about it or looking at it with a critical eye. I like to start with a background. I mean, lately my backgrounds have been the AI generated images, but I always like to start with a background, and then I leave it probably for a while, and then go back in. It's like I don't even know how to talk about how I work. Like, I just kind of do it. It's very important. I guess I have a lot of philosophies about it and principles that I like to follow. I think it's very important to be in the moment and for everything to be genuine and not to make something because you think it'll look good. Like, if I try to do something that I already thought of, it just never looks as good as it is in my head. And I think ideas are very important as a basis, but not as an end point. So I think that's what's so fun about art for me, is that the surprise of it. I'm like, wow, real life is way more interesting than my thoughts, which I think is cool, you know? So it's very fun being able to surprise yourself. So I go through phases. So I'm always using paint, and I'm sometimes using other materials, and those materials change a lot, but paint is very consistent. I would say multimedia. I like to incorporate at least one other material besides paint when I'm working. I've been really into wax lately. I love materials and like how they feel and how they go onto the canvas. You know, how they blend together. It's really just an exploration of different materials and doing what I feel like at any given moment with them. But I do love having ideas as well and combining that with a very sensory artistic process. I have a lot of supplies that I've gotten for free, just people getting rid of old, you know, house paint and house materials like wood finish and asphalt roof cement. So I like being kind of industrial with the work and having it have that sort of rugged quality to it rather than fine art. And I like to use a lot of red, black, and white, I'm realizing. Those are mostly the colors that I use. And then I really like doing the AI generated pieces as well. But in terms of my own style, there are certain techniques that I use all the time. You know, like the crackling effect and then just the abstract expressionism sort of thing. So I think when I'm working more, that's when things start to look very similar, but the key is to just work a lot, just through process and exploration. And I always get inspiration from my own work. A lot of pieces end up with one aspect where I'm like, wow, that's really great. So I take that and kind of enlarge it into the next piece. And I guess it's about creating something new for the technique to do each time. Or I guess new circumstances for the technique to exist in. Well, I'm always inspired. I can always make art at any time because, like I said, even if I don't have an idea, I'll get the ideas as I'm going. I always try to make something that evokes something or makes sense or tells a story. I think an image paired with how you would feel standing in front of the actual realistic version of that image. For example, like a landscape, for example. The point of abstracting it is to evoke not what it looks like, but how it feels when you're there. I think a lot about the best way to do things, right? And I think the best way to do things is personal to the individual. So I think with artistic mastery, for me at least, since it's very process-based, comes with mental mastery. Like if I take my process in the studio and make a great painting and I use that same mindset out in the world, then I'm going to be successful at whatever I'm doing. Like how to optimize the brain and the body as a human being. And I think art has taught me a lot about that. And I think I've become a lot better at other things in my life because of the artistic process, and vice versa. Doing a lot of non-art related things teaches me a lot about the process in art. Just like a mental exercise it's like a study on being a human.